Okay. And we're about to start here. Wholeness to everyone. Of course, today is going to be another one of those days. It's the full moon. And I'm just going to get into the platform here and make sure everything started okay. And then we're just going to get this thing going today. I mean, lots of information coming out today. Like, we're definitely on the precipice, as I call it, or the actual brink of massive understanding. Make sure everything started okay. Okay, that's our sound test. So it looks like we're ready to go. And of course, the chat room is here. If anyone has any questions or anything to say during the program, then they can definitely chime in and ask a question, and I'll do my best to pay attention to the chat box while I'm going through the information that I have to deliver today. Wow, we have a lot going on in the world. Of course, it's October the 30th, and looks like a lot of people will not be doing Halloween this year in the New York area, unfortunately, as things get cleansed. It's also ironic that we do a show on water, because this, of course, was taking place right around, of course, a time where water is the key element that's being used to, depends on what kind of lifestyle you're living, either shake things up or cleanse things. So I guess we can get right into this, because today's show is going to be very vast. In fact, this show was really about, it had a whole nother pace to it about 2 to 3 days ago, after a major awakening within myself. Of course, we just went over a full moon, and the sun was lined up in the exact opposite direction. So I have a tendency to look at that as I just call it a lineup day, because during the day, if you're here in Costa Rica, the sun is out and then the moon is also out in full, and they're both directly across from each other. And I just use that as my personal timeline to understand kind of how the universe is moving. Not so much as, holidays and months and all these different calculations of how many days they want in the year, because realistically, if the universe is expanding and contracting, you can never have the same amount of days every year anyway. So I'll show you today what the lords of time are doing, or what the Saturnalian teachings are actually doing to govern time, as they've introduced a specific system, and that system is attempting to emulate life. So we'll talk today about what the clones, as I say, the clones, Lucifer, Sataniel, and also how to bypass these glitches in the matrix in order to wake up your energy to its full potential, so that you'll understand the place of things here. So the reason why 2 days ago this conversation had a very, I would say it would be teacher-master conversation. In this case, I'm always the teacher. So notice I didn't say teacher-student. I said teacher-master, because if you learn a lesson, then now you're prepared to teach it. Whoever teaches you the lesson happens to be, in this tense, the master. So I had an opportunity to learn a very huge lesson 2 days ago about water. And before I start, I need to get some water. I'm glad this water is here. So drink some water here, and then we're going to start it talking about water. Because my mouth was rather dry. Okay, so let us begin. So of course, I was looking at a lot of the ancient symbols, and a lot of symbols that are being used today, and saying that I represent this, like when you see the pentagram or when you see the hexagram, and then someone says, I represent this. And then they give you their doctrine and their dogma, and they say, this is what this is really about. But something really started dawning on me in the meditation the other day about, if you look at water, as I just sourced the image here again, this is a water crystal. So if you look at water, you can actually see the entire truth to this world, just within the water. Whatever comes after that is what mankind added to it to try to explain it. Or try to take credit of it. But if someone even says, I made water, this is no different than someone saying, I made the light bulb, when such items have been in existence across the universe for who knows how long. So at least ever since the beginning, even though there is no beginning. So we're still at a level of having to figure out how to comprehend that there's no beginning. So let us look here at the water crystal, and what comes to my mind immediately is a scripture that says, in my Father's house, now it's genderized, there are many mansions. And you can see easily here how, if you understand the esoteric nature behind those words that are spoken, that those many mansions became these different cellular cube worlds that are built within the entire structure that we're in. Because water, if you want to go and find God, some people are into this wanting to find God. If you want to find God, look at what you need. I would call that finding the Most High. Things that you have to have or you're out of here. If you want to at least get to the control source or the energy source, because energy is conscious, you should go to what it is that you need the most and then start to understand the dynamic of the different entities that live here. So the ones that are hard-coded is air and water. Without either one of those, you only have a few hours. Actually, without air, you only have a few minutes. Without water, you have a little bit more time. Without food, you have a little bit more time. So what you can see is that Earth is set up in layers of time of what you really need to continue your existence. Okay, so understand the universe is what put that into play, because water, obviously, a person can identify with the universe. Can you? So, as you see the first play here, you see someone attempt to duplicate energy. Okay, this is what you're witnessing, because water is not a woman or a man. Some people say, oh man, no, that's wrong. Water is a female. No, sorry. Wrong again. Water is an androgen, because if you look at the cells, these are two interlacing cubes. This entire geometry tells you there's a masculine and a feminine principle here. There's not just a half cube or a half cubit here. So here comes the major knowledge that nothing that is truly alive and that can give energy can operate without the masculine and feminine components. And this masculine and feminine is androgynous in the sense that it's actually beyond homosexuality, for those thinking that the androgynous has anything to do with homosexuality. Androgynous is beyond external sex. Androgynous is actually internal sex, if you wanted to put it the proper way. 2 6s, which is sex, 2 6s internally spinning like that symbol that they call the yin and yang. This is what's creating this perpetual life. Okay, so anything that gives life has to have these two interlacing triangles. So my major ascension technique is understanding your water that you're drinking and how the real appearance of water finally revealed itself to me. The water that's coming out of the drain now, running at the right angle, is, first of all, our water quality is so bad, but you don't see how bad it is because there's a chemical in it that is very similar to what they put in what I call Clearly Canadian. And this is a soda, and it's called Clearly Canadian. I used to drink it maybe 10, 15 years ago. And this is a good, juicy, sugary soda. But it looked like water. It was completely clear. So there's a chemical that they put in Clearly Canadian after they add all of these different flavors and colors and chemicals and all this stuff. Then they put this one last chemical and it makes everything look clear. How I figured out that that's a chemical that's used in water is why I was at the institution. Of course, many people are aware of the Ionic foot bath. Some people have used the Ionic foot bath, but we'll explain what it is. The Ionic foot bath is supposed to be, let me check and make sure my sound's okay here. Yeah, okay, it looks like we're good on sound. So what the Ionic foot bath is that in the clinic, you have this thing that looks like a foot tub. And it also has this little device that's attached to it that's an ionizer. And when you're supposed to put your feet in there and add, I believe, a little salt. And you put the person's foot in there and then you turn it on and it says that it starts to draw the toxins from the person's feet. Okay, you can go look this up. And this is supposed to be very big because, of course, a lot of your toxins are actually in your feet because everything runs down according to gravity. And then it forms these crystals inside of your feet. And I'll just show you in this area, it forms crystals all over. And so sometimes some people have to, in this ascension technique, come in and break the actual crystals. And generally this is very painful. So even if you're pushing it a little bit, that's not it. They even have one of these, when I was at the Institute, they had a particular old school rolling thing that you just rolled your feet across the top, and it worked to break these crystals of toxins that would build up in your feet. So then this ionic foot bath thing was created. So many people thought that, okay, this is going to be the way that I can get toxins out of my feet. And of course, I tried it a couple times. You put your feet in there. And then about maybe, I would say 3 minutes in, all this yellow, nasty, gooky stuff and brown stuff and slime and all this stuff starts boiling up in the tub. And then, of course, if the person asks, is that coming from my feet? The individual says, that's supplying the ionizer says, yes, that's coming from your feet. And the person's like, man. So they're thinking, wow, I'm not dirty. And then they're also thinking, man, this thing is, I'm kind of embarrassed here, but this thing is pulling out a lot of toxins out of my body. I must be really toxic. So generally, these things are about $35 a pop, by the way, if you're in some type of institution that has them. So, and they also say you have to limit it to 2 times. So once you do it twice, you'll see on both times, stuff is still coming out. So that's as much as you can do, right? So of course, in my trip to the Institute was actually, I was in the Institute and I was with the owner of the Institute and all the machines and things were there. And he was like, just go for it. You have however long a time you need. So in one experiment, I ran the ionic foot bath about 10 times. Started noticing that for at least 6 to 7 or 8 times, the toxins coming out of the feet were still like excessive. To the point where I started thinking, this couldn't be coming from my body, because there's no way that much toxin can come from your body and you even still be alive after 8 times of me trying this. And most people probably never run this experiment. So I started to think about this, and then I just wrote it off, kind of like I put the ionic foot bath on the shelf, and I checked it off on my list as still needing to be investigated about what exactly was going on. 3 weeks later, another gentleman comes into the Institute for a treatment, and the doctor offers them an ionic foot bath, and the guy says, no, those don't work. He said, I've done a lot of study, and then the doctor kind of like talked over him, and then he didn't get what he had to say out. So after he went through a few treatments on some colonics and other things, I went in and I asked the guy, I said, hey, what did you find out about the ionic foot bath? He said, oh man, let me tell you. He said, this is what I discovered. All of that gooky stuff that you're actually seeing in the water that's supposed to be coming out of the person's foot. And I said, yeah. He said, that's not coming from them, man. That's coming from the water. Because what the ionizer is doing is it neutralizes this chemical that's in the water that really keeps people from seeing how the water really is. He said, if people saw how the water really was, they wouldn't even drink it. Okay. So let us go from that point to understand that generally the water that you're drinking, if you're not treating it properly or you're not getting distilled or whatever, it's going to have some issues with it. So to move into this next level of how you can work your intention and how water plays a major deal of when you're drinking, what intentions you have in your mind as you're drinking that water, how to change it in order to be able to administer a different kind of medicine to your body. Is what we're going to get into today. But remember, when you start with water, especially if you don't have an extreme level of energy coming from your frontal lobe, which changes things in 3 dimensions, work with the cleanest water possible. Okay? So we'll start from there. So now you see, I'm going to introduce you now also to the extraterrestrial. This is most important because I've just discovered that now that everything has been put together, as I put in the headline of this email about Merkaba mysticism, that there has been a knowledge in the teaching here that allows you to understand how to utilize this energy within your body. And it goes in different teachings. Some call it Kundalini, but to understand those who have already created diagrams of this energy, you would see it as this 6-pointed star, because as we uncovered, the 6-pointed star, or the sex-pointed star, has everything to do with reproduction. And we know that the indigenous people in the ancient religions, even all the way up until today, have used nothing but sexual symbolism within everything that they do. It's quite excessive. I have to even do an individual show just on that alone. It's for adults only, but it is a show showing that the entire nature of this cube that we're in now has a sexual nature to it. And the individuals who have unlocked this, how would I put it? These interlacing energies, and to activate this field, can vibrate in and outside of this matrix, meaning that they actually have a portal within themselves. You have a portal within you. There are individuals who know how to utilize the portals within themselves. The danger has been, and this is where the extraterrestrial component comes in, that if you just do this, now there's many people that have just done this. They're following someone else's instructions or doing what someone else is telling them to do, and this person's already been led in the wrong direction. And the individual chooses to study this very deeply and work with the meditations, and then it actually activates. But the person's mind is still within a dark field. It doesn't even really know its true place in the universe and doesn't really know that it is everything. But it's somehow still found the secrets of how to unlock this energy within themselves. Actually, what happens is because there are intra-dimensional beings in the next playing field, basically, they come through the person. And this is why in a great deal of the ancient symbolism, and I'm sourcing a picture now, I'm showing you Bacchus coming from the portal. Notice how, again, if you lose the symbolism at any point, if you at any point lose the symbolism, you actually don't understand the entire thing. What you have here, as in the picture I'm showing now, is Bacchus from the portal. You have a circle, which is equivalent to the sun. Then you have this hexagram, which of course is equivalent to energy and everything of how this matrix is created, because it not only is what you get when you look at water. This is something you can go down to your own university and check out. You don't have to believe in anyone else. Believe in what your eyes can actually see if you're still into that. And take some water and put it into crystallized form, and then go down to university and see if they'll let you use a high-powered microscope and look at it. It will appear just like the hexagram. So basically, the only thing that the hexagram is energy. It's energy because whatever item, in this case water, has fused its two principles together, meaning it has joined itself in fluidity, is now generating energy. This can be done within us. This can be done within animals, which I'm going to show the secret to the arcs later. And this also, it can be done through many of the different energy sources that we have here on the earth. Even oil. Oil is a O and an L. This is two generate energy principles, just like the number 10, the 0 and the straight line. So this is where the mysticism really comes in at. So what Bacchus is actually an entity that came through a portal and comes through the portal of individuals who do the rites of Bacchus. So let us get this understood. The hexagram itself is only defining the energy. What's coming through the middle of the hexagram is the entity coming from the other portal. Now, here's another secret. As I was clearly almost an Atma, I guess, basically I'm saying I was in such a higher state of consciousness, I was actually in communication with the Oversoul, and the Oversoul was only smiling, saying this is all a gift. That we were invited here onto this planet, and there are so many magnificent things here, but we're the ones making it harder on ourselves. That humanity is actually doing all this stuff, and also the individuals the beings that humanity has made covenants with have themselves headlong in the matrix doing all sorts of things that they're complaining about. But originally we were invited by beings who built beautiful worlds, and we came to this one. This is what they're explaining to me. And they're saying, but here's how it works. Everything is still made out of one thing. So let us now think in mind the atom, or maybe you can think in mind this interlacing tetrahedron energy situation. And understand that everything, even because light shows it, when you shine any type of lens at a light, the first thing that appears is a tetrahedron, then a circle. So in addition to that, when you look at water, the first thing that appears is this hexagon, which is the tetrahedron. So you should have to come to a conclusion at a certain point if you want to progress that, okay, these are the symbols of energy. Now, I'm going to show you, okay, I actually needed to upload an image here, just 1 second. So this is the situation that I'm talking about in regards to cloning. Because what cloning is that obviously someone understood how energy works. And let me just source some images here. Let me see if this is going to go back to the channel for me. Okay. So I'm just going to upload a couple of these designs just to show you how expansive it is. Let's just take a moment to do that since there's no rush. I will tell you that how it was explained to me is that since everything is made out of one principle, you still have to understand the difference between fire and water. This is how the elements actually play a role in your life. Some people are wondering how to use the elements and how they equate to what's going on with us. Water is smooth. If you jump in the water and you're really smooth with it, it's really easy to swim. But if you jump in the water and you're really rough with it, you not only get tired fast, but you also sink. Just to let you know the nature of water. Water has the ability to be anything. Like Bruce Lee said, you pour it into the teapot and it becomes the teapot. Be the water, my friend. So what he's actually saying is that you're the energy, but you have to stay with your two components. You have to stay completely powered up. There could be no duality within you for you to obtain this next state of fluid strength, what you would see in an individual like Bruce Lee when he throws the punch. So what happens is that when you are removed from this body, which you will be, like everyone here gets removed from the body at some point, even though no one wants to think about it. If you go smoothly, which is actually the key to how to get out of the body and in and out of the body also, by the way. If you can come out smoothly, it governs the next frequency that you're going into. So you actually go into more smoother, perfected worlds, for better lack of words. So if for any reason, though, you happen to be coming out of the body very rough and you actually have to leave the body. Remember, when you're alive, you can stay in the body, and if you start feeling yourself come out of the body, you'll like snap really fast and then you'll come back into the body, right? However, what happens when it's time to actually leave? Basically when it's time to die, when now you have to come out of the body. So I'm going to also, again, reveal the secret of what happens to people who do a lot of dark things in this world. And then they build up this huge materialistic thing, illusion. Then when it's time to leave it, they basically are holding on to it. And this is why they say they send angels to take you from this world. Because if it was up to you, you wouldn't even leave. So what happens for most people, like they're so attached to this world because they don't know anything about the other worlds, they just as soon as stay here. And anytime, that's why they protect their lives so much, because, and this is what creates the fear. Anytime something happens that is about to, they think is about to remove them from the world, they get extremely scared, the pineal gland closes up, and they tense up, and they brace for impact, right? What if I told you there are those that are trained that in the face of fear, there is no stiffness, there's no hindrance. That this type of level of calmness, which comes in really conquering a lot of your fears, actually gives you the ability to enter and release yourself from your body at will. This is what this information and knowledge contains. But you can also see how people get locked in here. They basically lock themselves in here. They're scared of what's out there. They fail to learn enough, and then of course, anytime they go to research it, they find some demonic god saying it's this and that and the other, and it came out of the portal and it made and created everything, and this is the counterfeiter. Now, there's a counterfeiter in your world, is what I'm telling you. There's a being that takes symbols and things from nature, and then, or actually it's a whole group of them, they take symbols and things from nature, and then they bring it out into the open, and they say, this is ours. We created energy. We created you. Anytime somebody says, we created you, this means they're saying, we created energy. No, they didn't. That's a lie. So you would learn, again, the thing that is controlling much of this, known as the Tetragrammaton, Yahweh, is a lion. which we connect also to a lie, like a rampant lion. But also in heat is the level of this energy that one is encountering in dealing with any of the Christian, actually all of the systems that you see here on earth. Like if you look at the spiritual systems here on earth, as we'll keep going through it here, they all trace back to mainly one entity. So what that entity did is hacked it before it got to us, and they took the symbol and said, we're energy. We created you because we can create energy. And that's not what happened. So these are the things that we have to clear up today. So let me take a moment to source these pictures. Okay, so what we have here is, now what we're calling the hexagram is also known as the shirkan, because hexagram is a Greek word. So it's the shirkan. It's, of course, we have this new metaphysical tetrahedron. Star of David is the one that when they try to take credit for what it is, Megan star. So you get all these names for it because now it's continuously being hacked. Someone saying, well, I figured it out. I discovered it. It was mine. I created energy. Now it's easy for you to see also how the mind can do this inside of an individual because they are energy. If they just wouldn't try to personalize it though, it belongs to everyone. And this is also why the secrets behind energy is what the world is in conflict over right now. We feel like there's some type of scarcity of energy and it's making everyone tensed up. So also a lot of people are manifesting the end. But of course, if you notice in the situation, obviously everyone's aware of in Jersey, New York with the storm, that they just had to have something to say that 2012 caused a great catastrophe. When by part, 2012 has delivered massive levels of awakening and information. The level of the positive energy on this planetary field has guided us through this complete year with only a few incidents compared to how many people are still left on Earth. The Japan situation was very serious, yes, and there was many serious situations, but there's still billions of people on Earth. Our overall population is still growing. So now you look in, of course, everyone is fascinated with the darker side of Wicca. So now it's October 30th and all those, or 31st is coming, and then on the wane side of the moon, because it was just full. So you have all these people who are totally blind to bringing up dark energies. Look, if something is jumping on another thing and blood's going on everywhere and it's chewing into its neck, how could this ever get you in the right direction? Likewise, if something was up the street and it was doing that, you wouldn't just sit there. All that big and bad person you think that you are will go in one direction. And you would be left there, meaning that most people who like this kind of stuff only like to watch it. Because remember, we have to acknowledge there's people who like horror. They like to watch it, but they don't like to be in it. That's what I mean by people who can put their energy into something, but then once it's manifested, they don't want to be there to deal with the repercussions of it. So, of course, in New York, you have Ishtar standing out there at 7-Eleven, meaning that the Ishtar Gate is the Statue of Liberty. It was given from France, the Merovingians. So they have this huge pentagram, which they call just the Big Apple, which is the apple that Eve ate, the pentagram itself. And they build up so much energy in that field while they hold those people into that vortex. So guess what's happening now? After the storm is over, most of those people will get checks. That'll be their exodus money. To understand what's happening in the United States is to understand your choices. You either choose the robot Romney, who's the other side of Remus. Rom is the other brother in Rome. That's why Rome begins with R-O-M. That's why computers have ROM. Okay, to understand that world is something that you need to look up Newman in Google, N-U-M-A-N, to understand what the entity they want to push forth in their Zion. So what you also have, of course, is that you have A lot of people, and if you watch the people in New York in these areas and you watch them walk around, they almost are in this trance because New York is a pentagram. So many people that get there have a hard time leaving. They get they're stuck in the borough. And this is what I notice with any type of experience that you're trying to have that are opening up, that's going to open up higher levels and higher chakras. The environment has to correspond to that. Another ascension technique. I watch when going into, especially with certain things, going into the levels of the chakras activating, and then you're actually in a house when this is happening. There's no nature, there's nothing organic, and all of what these electroids really are begin to disturb the person. And the frequencies they begin to actually see in their third eye. And so basically it plunges the person into this dark, illusionary, artificial world of death. Because there's nothing alive about, in general, to organics, there's nothing alive about inorganics. This guy's not going to talk, he's not going to do anything. It's only going to do what I program it to do. So there's nothing alive here. So if you're around something like this and you go into a higher vibratory field, all you're going to see is death, basically. You're not going to see the truth because the truth is life. So I'll show you some more. What you have here is, and I'm going to source a few of these just to show you how many people have tried to monopolize life. That was like a thought that came to these controllers at some point, is that why don't we take credit for life? Here's the symbol again. In another ancient place. I was unable to label these pictures properly because I was actually prepping the last parts of this show this morning. Here we go again. Another ancient temple. We see it again. Meaning that the interesting part was they were saying that this symbol itself is so much older than Israel. Of course, we find it in India. That even for them to try to take it and say that it's theirs and it belongs to them, and to try to tell everyone this is our star, this is something that belongs to us, it's the Star of David, is sheer heresy within itself for how many other individuals are now scattered abroad in the real diaspora, that this was a symbol that their ancient fathers, whether it was Zoroastrians, whether it was Mithraism, and whether it was Gnostics, whether it was Mandean, whether it was any of these religions that really contain some level of truth that you generally would have to go on some type of monkhood to achieve, or some type of priestess situation to achieve. It erases all of that. And so this gets us prepared to deal with many entities that are coming into the world that are actually saying, I created the power and it came from me, which is really the next play in this reality. If you understand, that's why they're coming out with movies such as Cloud Atlas, which me and Dave Mathematics are going to do a review on soon. They're coming out with movies where they want to dictate to you what now God and heaven is. So this is the next level. They want to tell you what that's about. Now that they're trying to tell you what your earth is about. Okay? So at some point you have to shut it down. Now, because here's the next level of what they want to do. Revealed first. Here, well, actually I wouldn't say first, but definitely the first time a decent group of people have actually seen it. You see these entities or extraterrestrials that are in this image that I just sourced, peeking from the other side of the portal. The idea of the gray, the idea of AWAS is still on the other side of the portal, because what they are trying to configure is they're trying to configure bodies that can take in these energies so that they can come in a 3D. Like Lady Gaga's running around everywhere. That's why that's the moon of Saturn. This is a completely Saturnalian system. It works on the number 12 because they sit in 13, in the position of 13. So 12 is 12 grades in school. You go first to 12th grade, 12 months, 12 signs of the zodiac. You have 6 plus 6 is 12. So this means 1 and 2, or 2 pairs interlacing over the top of each other. So something is trying to dictate time, and that's why they called that's why they call it Father Time. Okay? And they say Saturn controls time and he's the slowest moving planet, blah, blah, blah. What it really is someone is attempting to embed numbers in the reality and tell you this is what these numbers stand for. If it's spiritual, then the number is 6. This is their game. If it's physical, then the number is 5. And we'll play you on the 5 and 6, which is 11. You'll stay in duality all the time. On 11-11, we'll actually hit those two 11 towers and have planes with only 11 passengers crashing into buildings to get you to stay more in duality with another side of the world with individuals that do nothing but practice more knowledge of the 5. Now, to understand, Islam itself is now completely Venusian. The horns is not that of the moon. Like that was my misunderstanding of that in my progress through the knowledge. The horns is that of the planet Venus. And the pentagram is that of the planet Venus. So we have 5, which is the Arab world, versus 6, which is Israel, of course, carrying a 6-pointed flag and then the United States backing them too. So obviously they're under that 6-pointed flag, Brahmanism, Arianism, okay? And then they boom, 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 right? Creating all this chaos and ruckus all over the planet, right? But meanwhile, while some people are trying to figure out what side they should join and who they should choose, Pharaoh or the droid Rom, there's another entity back there. This is what me and a friend were talking about last night. Like, it's interesting because when you see these guys, like these are netters. Like you see these netters, right? There's another entity that's controlling them. This is the entity that's playing puppet master with the world. It would be great to have a conversation without this entity, meaning that I would love to have conversations that consisted of way more expansive things than discussing and highlighting what the child is up to again. Meaning that 4 kings routed this god a while ago and knocked it on its arse, basically. There was a war against the being that is now coming in, attempting to come into power. Now in the Aquarian Age, the age of Aquarius is mainly about when man and woman become the gods, basically. Something happens during this age, which you can obviously see what it is, where we start to realize that we don't have to bow down to anything because it'd be just like bow down to ourselves. Like we don't have to do that as reverence to our brothers and sisters. We don't have to debase ourselves and make ourselves humble or on the floor, laying down, stretched out. As they would, and bowing down. All this has nothing to do with what we are. Energy doesn't do that. Energy stands straight on itself. And that's why they're telling me, Sevan, the world can stand up on itself. We don't need man's help. Man, it's actually quite the contrary. The longer man and woman stay here, it's tearing this world down. But still understand the pretense. This world can stand up on itself. So why we're acting like, oh, we're doing so great here and blah, 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 blah. No, that's not what's happening. We were invited here. Now, here's, of course, the difference again from leaving the body. If you leave the body like water, you're smooth. You already know where you're going. It's a smile on your face, happy frequency. You're headed there. That may be your dream or what you call your lucid sleep for the night. Then you come back in this reality. The frequency's still there and things are splendid. You're in full balance. Or you could be going from a highway to the danger zone. Every single day is darkness. Whether you're awake or whether you're asleep, it's like your eyes are closed because you're like have a blinder on, not seeing all the magnificence that is still around you and able to be accessed by you. And it could be because where you are. It could be because how you're seeing things. Whatever the excuse may be, it still doesn't stop it from happening. So we have to move to the control point. So again, these netters, now I'm going to give you the Lex secret here with the Egyptian netter system, since so many people are still trying to act like that what we're delivering is not the truth. Now, first of all, the difference between illuminated and enlightened, let me explain to you, is illuminated means someone else has lit the path and you are following the light in which they have lit for you. This is what illumination is, okay? So if the one who is your light happens to be leading you in the wrong direction, you'll never know because you are not enlightened. Enlightened means you have a light within. This means that in dark places, you just light up resplendent and you don't need external beings to pave and show you the way. because you are everything. You've in full realization of that. Your dynamo is working. So you have a light body. Now, again, on the physical level, men and women, to understand that lucid dreaming can easily be accomplished if you would just run and swim at least 3 times a week and build up the oxygen within your blood. So that way, and then the whole body breathing, because what you have is your system is constantly igniting then on prana and oxygen. And this fuels the astral body. Now, the secret to the arcs. Bring me the arcs. Bring me the geometry. Bring me the bodies. I think that was read out of one of these ancient Egyptian texts that I had consumed about 2 years ago. So I think I got to get some water here for just a quick moment. Then we're going to talk about these arcs, because this is one of the most important things to understand about what's been happening with why there's different kind of people and why some people prefer different kinds of things, and they like this kind of meat and they like this kind of plant and all of that. So when I go and get some water and come right forward, I'm going to talk about that. And in the meantime, let's see here. I'm going to source this picture of the dog arc bark. Remember, the word bark doesn't mean just something that a dog does. It actually means a boat. Something carrying a person from one area to another. Now, of course, this name for God now is dog backwards because it's a Gothic word. And God in this text then becomes good or good, because good in God is just one O missing. And then the devil becomes evil, or the devas become evil because you just put a D in front of evil, and that means devil. So the only thing that these words God and devil really are wordplay. To get you to see because you're talking English, and the English are fighting a certain group of individuals that are represented by a certain group of stars and a certain vibration. They program in the language that that's your enemy. So we're going to talk about that when we come back, or forward, as I always say. Okay, let me check the chat box here to make sure everyone can hear correctly. Okay, great. Looks like everyone's still tuned in. Also, I did just cut the mic back on, so if anyone can let me know that they're... Actually, hold on, I can just cut the sound on for a second. Let's see. Okay, let me check. All right, so looks like we're ready to go. All right, so again, this is the big thing that we're talking about here today, because man, like if you can think of the ramification of what's being explained, and I know sometimes we compress a lot of this deep knowledge into one small, simple episode at times. But man, if you take it piece by piece and you really understand what's being said, you not only get the key to energy and how energy is made inside of you, you also get to the key to who the Lucifer or Satan type characters are, which is really just individuals who are cloning the energy. And you can see why they take certain symbols such as phi, the pentagram, the hexagram, the tetrahedron, which connects to light and water and the main substances that we breathe here. And you can see the connection within the DNA and the serpentine nature and how then the serpent becomes a character. Then someone actually says that I am the serpent, even though that's just not one part of them. So you can actually get also how, even in the world that we're living in today, like I was watching the movie Branded. I mean, obviously the people in the movie know what's going on. If you see just how there is an individual that will say anything to get you to buy something, to get you to want something. And you look in this world and you say, well, this is Nike, this is Microsoft, this is Apple. These are the major companies that will say, show, and do anything to get you to buy another iPhone. So when you can understand that ideology, and then you can see what a maximized level of that is, as they say, as above, so below. Yeah, in the cube, you got to start thinking outside the box in order for you not to have a above and a below. But that's outside the box. But while we're inside of the box, as they call the light in the box, or this is now a new coded term for those who are initiated and are speaking of and they're naming their companies light in the box, because there's a full understanding that this world is in itself set up to a cubic level, that the water in this world has the geometry within itself. This is not something that is very difficult to know, but it becomes something very hard to accept, because most people have taken this as their explanation. God created the heaven and the earth and everything in it. Done. You're never supposed to ask any questions of how it was created, who God may be, etc., etc. So even if that statement is actually true, you still have learned nothing. That is what is at its end now. You have to know exactly how you are put together, because here's the amazing thing. You're already in action. It's already working. And that's why you have to understand these beings are not more advanced than you. In fact, they're defunct. They only know how to do something that you once knew how to do, which is go in and out of fields of fear, meaning not having fear. So thus, because of there's no fear, there's no hindrance to you understanding how to come in and out of the wavelength. And this is why this is important. The physical body charges off the physical reality. The spiritual body only charges in the spiritual world. Like it only can find its source there. While in this world, man, they keep inventing sources. So let's go through this. What the arcs really are is the ark is the covenant. Now, the covenant that was made within Lower Egypt between those from Canaan were made by two factions, which are the Syrians and then the humans that were there during that time, which I believe later on became known as the Elizabethan. So what happens here is that the covenant that has been made between the Syrian Empire and the Elizabethan dynasty is a covenant with the dog. Now, the dog god, who's also Canaan, or the Cain, is a protector in a certain sense. And this is how it plays out in their physical reality. What animal out of all the animals has the closest place with man and woman and family? The dog. Not the fish, not the bird, not the cat even. The cat is close because that was the last era. But now the dog, the cat, the recent covenant before the covenant with the cat was the covenant with the dog. Now, if you understand this on a hierarchical level, you're talking about the covenant between or the feline family, the lions, or the covenant of what is coming next. This covenant with the dog. Now, what the Ark of the Covenant is actually, it's not only a hyperdimensional communication device, it not only contains certain artifacts that were present during the covenant itself, meaning that if it's the witness per se, it's the deed or contract per se, but it's not just as simple as a piece of paper, it's actually a geometric encoded, encrypted, inscribed object of the agreement itself. So everyone that was present, everything that is being up for grabs, what is at stake, how the whole behavior must be, all of that is dictated within that. So when you look and you see this Egyptian arc, which is named the Dog Arc Bark 1, you find that you just see something very interesting here. Lose all the pictures for a moment and just see that it appears to be almost like two elevators where people are going in one side and then they're coming out another. And you literally have almost an idea completely of an implosion device, a portal within itself, something that governs how the people are going to be next based on the contract and the agreement that they've made. And that's why Jordan Maxwell mentions, if you really understand the New Testament, you understand that actually what it is a redemption. But if you understand what a redemption is, then you'll know what I'm talking about. Meaning that a redemption is that after the previous gods and rulers, these individuals who keep cooking up these matrices of confusion, are done with one of their segments and orientations, then they have a redemption plan for everyone to come in just like they do today and go in and redeem themselves for a new round of Matrix BS. Now, or Matrix OS in this case. And so the new version of the Matrix is based on the insensitivity of a wolf. That when you understand that it can, as I already cracked into it earlier, can is a dog spirit. So this means they just chose the wolf, which is really the story of Romulus and Remus. They chose the wolf and were suckled from the wolf as their archetype of who they wanted to be. So what do you hear? It's a sheep, or excuse me, a wolf in sheep's clothing. Why choose the symbol wolf? Why not say it's a lion in sheep's clothing? Why not? No, it's a wolf because we're dealing with Big Five again. Meaning that the idea of the Cerberus, the guard dog protecting the dimension. Like I said, 5 caters to everything that's physical. Anything that you want to do, look at the word pH, phi and physical, all these are the same words. Anything that's physical. You want physics? We'll take it to you on the high end. That's the highest we can get it. You want to fight? You want an MMA? You want to sit in the octagon? You want to get physical about this? So that's 5. And then when the one is more spiritually inclined, this means they're like born on the other side of this same chaos of the planet. You're on the 6th now, left-hand path. Then they got a bunch of stuff cooked up in there for everyone too, about how they're explaining what the symbolism really is. Symbolism is energy. Energy doesn't have an explanation. It just is. So if you want to really understand where everything has to be, then understand that. Look at water. Understand when you drink water, it's energy. Understand there's energies everywhere, but all energies have 2 positive and negative components, meaning a masculine and a feminine component. So anyone that wants to separate you from the masculine and the feminine principle, if they say, like if you're looking in the ancient Hebrew text, it says that they tore down the Asherah, that Asherah could no longer sit next to Yahweh. Okay, what you're actually watching is the defacing of the feminine, because Asherah means wealth. So the defacing of the feminine is what you see and witness in the Old Testament. So it doesn't matter what the story is, and this is how some people can get beyond the story, but wait a minute, God is saying I don't want him to hurt me and blah, blah, blah. Look, outside of the book, outside of the box, okay, what you really have here is they're removing the feminine component. Now, it wouldn't work anyway. This is where you have to cut people off at, especially on the spiritual level. They're talking about God as a man. It wouldn't work anyway. I'm done. That's the end of that's your limitation. You see? That's your misunderstanding. Now, we can also see who's working it. Nothing but papacy action. Everything that has to do with pee and phalluses. They're carrying these rods around in their hand. It's the symbol of them. Like I said, I have a whole show for it. It's an adult show. But when you, as an adult, and when you understand that, it gives you this mature way of being, meaning that you now stop just thinking about so maddeningly the passion and the nature of the passions that go through your emotional body. And you start to really look into especially on the mental, physical, and spiritual level. What am I doing here? What kind of information am I taking in? And that's what I'm telling you. That's the only thing that I've done that has taken me this far to get me to understand things, is that I've taken it piece by piece, and I haven't used mankind and woman's rationale, meaning what can happen and what can happen. And I just took it from the beginning and said, this, according to, if this is true, then this must be true. This is how you can get to truth. If you find out if one thing is true, then this must be true. If light shows me this same shape and water shows me this same shape, and they are both energies, then this must be the shape of energy. However, if another being comes forth and says that this is my sign and this is my symbol and I'm the one that created that, then that could not be true, because energy doesn't have a creation. That's the whole key to it. Even if you have to understand what I'm calling the unbegotten. What they're saying is that mankind has no beginning and end. The spirit has no beginning or end. Where our limitation comes in is that we can't understand that. But I'm trying to explain to you only in words that it's within the energy. When you can become, like I said, you train your body for it. You start jogging, start running on the treadmill at least, and get the energy to start building up, and then start noticing how your mind, if you match your breathing in with your step. Again, this is still the Ascension Techniques course, so you match your breathing with your step, and you'll start watching the body go into a perpetual nature, meaning that it will continue to go. So let's get some of this out of the way. So what's in the ark? Notice how we uncovered just not too long ago that a lot of these teachings were coming from the teaching of Brahmanism, which is Hinduism, and that a great deal of what was being practiced in the Western culture is actually coming from that. So I was looking at an old Jordan Maxwell, and what he made a good point of is that in the Indiana Jones and the quest for the Raiders of the Lost Ark, you see that the first place that they go when they're looking for this ark is supposed to be in Egypt. Then why do they go to Tibet first to find the ark? And it's because, if you understand that, as we were talking about before, that they were carrying this object from place to place to place. They say it once was a stone that fell from the sky, and that these people, because of the properties of the stone and what it could do, began to worship it. And then they say that the stone itself revealed that it came from Saturn. This is the continuous story of why they're worshiping and kissing a stone out there. But then they say that the assassins stole it. I suspect that the assassins never gave it back. If you understand the code of the Shashin and Ben Saba, you understand that it was a whole other thing for them to take something, and they would have died before they gave it back. So here's the official story for those who are wanting to understand what I'm talking about. In what they call the navel of the earth, there's supposed to be a Kaaba there, or a plug, which is what that you see is what they're circumambulating out in Mecca every Ramadan. So this stone, this cube itself, has a stone on the tip of it, which is known as basically the entire focal point to this cube. And that if you're lucky or extremely lucky, you get a chance to kiss the stone. But everyone is actually pushing to kiss the stone. And the story of the stone on the exoteric level is that supposedly this is the stone that Abraham almost offered Isaac up on, the first altar. But the esoteric meaning of it is that this stone was the one that fell from the sky that began to communicate. And now, if you think that this is very foreign and definitely could not be true, then you have not even seen the power behind crystals, let alone the power behind meteorites, and how if you're just have prana and you actually sit one of them on your chest, you can actually begin to, you will see, even if on the light level, that you have gained certain energy and information. So there's some type of nature between the magnetic field of crystals and our physical body. So meteors, of course, it's an entirely different thing. So this is what you saw with the arcs themselves. And I think I may be cracking into this. And at this point, I'm going to go ahead and bring the show to its conclusion, since we're now at 11 o'clock. But if you just think about it, each culture had an ark that they were carrying around. Most of the time, if they set up in one place, they put it inside of a pyramid. They built like a pyramid type structure, and then they put it inside of there. Now, if they say that before that the stars that we see in the sky were here at one point, then this means that they could have been here in some type of stone form, which is what they call a titan. A titan is only made out of stone, like volcanoes. And that if this was the stone of a crystalline nature, it's highly possible that these indigenous people and these different tribes, not indigenous in no way by meaning ignorant, but it was really all about what they were containing in their arks of their covenants that they made with the other animals that I'm assuming that they got the physical bodies from. This is what you can really start to derive after you really see the level of knowledge and information that the ancient people had already. Their connection, which was just so close with what was really going on, not what we're told is going on. And we need to clarify that. If you're there during the time truth is occurring, it's going to be very difficult for you to lie about what is actually occurring. It's only later on that that kind of thing starts happening. So I have a source now, Dog Ark Bark 2, which you find, again, two Egyptians from Lower Egypt showing their ark and marching with their ark with their dog face Setian creature, and you see man is in a position on top of the ark of obeisance. So these are not just the arks with the wings on it, because this is why when I found out that there may be a dog ark, I wanted to know why the ark of the individuals that I know are carrying the dog ark has wings on it that they keep showing everyone. And I was explaining because that's not the original one. That's how they do it. Now they've got this one that they put the wings on top of. They would never let the untrained Goyim, according to them, see such a holy object. You're talking about people who believe that even if you allow someone to look at something that is containing power, then they remove power from it and it has no value. So this is the whole consecration of a talisman, that person, and this is all coming from one system, by the way, but that if a person touches this talisman that has not made this talisman, they remove the energy from it. You're talking about superstition times an infinity with what is going on and how this cube is tearing up the minds of those who do not deserve it, that it does not belong to them, meaning that they have opened up something, but what they've really done is opened themselves up to something. And what that something is really them in fast forward. Because remember, all the energy does is it fast forwards who you are anyway. That's why they were fools for touching it. Think about it. If you're not right spiritually and then you touch something that's going to fast forward you, where are you going to end up? Do you somehow equate that you're going to end up into something better? No, you've already gained or you've already basically put in the coordinates for your projection based on your own frequency. This is how you can't cheat the universe. The universe makes sure you don't cheat. You may want to play the game, but the universe is not going to let you cheat. So let's finish this here. So you had covenants and pacts and oaths and rituals and arcs being made by the indigenous people and by people of other nations, colors, and creeds. This is a lot of what we're dealing with here in our world today, things that our ancestors have done. Now we are in a position where we must understand what they've done, and we must also understand how it's affecting us, and we must treat ourselves accordingly. This again is what I would call an adult conversation. That's all we really have these days, adept conversations. Here's one of my last sourcings of information, so you understand who's king, who's Khan, who's Coin, who's Cain, who's Cohen. All those words are the same thing, of course. It is Saturn. By conclusive, the entity known as Saturn, or who they have depicted as Saturn, has really, let's say, it has nothing to do with the planet, but what they say that the planet is and who represent that and call themselves that title. This is now who has unlocked the mysteries of Merkaba mysticism and how to fold time. So thus, not only can they travel through light, this is basically where once you go into your astral body, you can see other incandescent lights and other lights that correspond to where you need to go, and you can actually come in and out of those lights. A friend of mine has photography recording this transition between these entities coming in and out of light sources. That's why there's another level of configuration with a lot of the new lights. What you also have is you have a situation where there's an extreme level of cloning going on, meaning someone saying that they created something that they didn't in fact create. So still, don't be fooled that any of these symbols of power and things belong to these factions and brotherhoods and groups that say that they are in contact with all there is. How could they be in contact with all there is and they're not even in contact with self? Not to mention the way they treat other people and their sheer amount of resources and what they do for other people with those resources speak for themselves. Let your actions speak. The knowledge and information that I'm giving you today has been well known by groups of men calling themselves elite. They're very old now. They understand that the body has a perpetual system and that we have a real connection with our spiritual selves. But the ultimate thing for them, as I cracked into the other day of understanding, is they're dividers. They want to divide you. And how they accomplish this is by telling you there is only one God. Notice this. If you actually believe that there's only one God and that God created you here and there's nothing else that's outside of this, and you're all so special because God created you from nothing and now you're here and all that's outside is nothing, this is the most highest level of division you could ever achieve. Congratulations. You've now officially locked yourself out of yourself. Think about what I'm saying. We know that there's other entities and other beings known as gods, and even beyond that. Energy sources, basically. Water is one of them. So, but water is, you now have air. So you see how it gets so, in the matrix, all they do is they continuously divide it to make it seem like it's separate. So now you're in this reality where you're perceiving everything as separate, and they're perpetuating this. Now, to come into the full, and then here's the failsafe, and people have to understand how this does not become confusing. They have this stage that's right before you come into full realization. Oh my goodness, that's 99%. Like we talk about the 100 monkey syndrome, what about the time of the 99 monkeys? When this 99 time happens, meaning that you're almost at the stage of graduating, there is such a heavy test to pass right then. Because you have so many conflicting thoughts about, are we still all connected? Are there different ones? Should I join on this side? Should I stay on that side? I'm good. I don't want to be on the side of bad. And then you're like right there on the precipice trying to figure out how to really activate, but you're trying to make a decision. This is because the roots of our thought is that we're the only thing that exists. In addition to that, there's an extreme level of fear for what's outside of this. So thus, when anyone gets outside of this, they generally project a frequency full of fear that they go into. Meaning that these beings are not, or humans or Masons or Illuminatis, are not going into worlds that are of great pleasure for them. Because they've already taken in the gold and all the rest of these distorted symbols, and they think that spirituality is one kind of way, when they get access to their astral vehicle, they go into this dark plane of the abyss. Anytime you're going into something and it appears dark and not full spectrum, you're going into ignorance. We've already discovered that. Nothing should be dark as you're going through it when you're enlightened. So this is, again, key lessons to understanding all of this, somehow trying to use the English language to do all of that. So let's just get to these questions really briefly here, because I said I was going to answer some questions and someone did send me some questions, but I'm sure they have the answer to those questions now. But this question is, I found a book on seals, and the people were saying that I needed to meditate on Metatron. It says it again, Tron. Once again, an entity attempting to tell everyone I'm the controller of the metafield, the metaphysical, which is meat. Meta, M-E-T-A. It's an anagram for meat, what you consume, your mate, your other part, which you consume. Remember, this is an energy thing. So the metaphysical is only talking about the reproductive energy of the world. So when you go into Merkaba mysticism and Metatron meditations, they have at the end, or sometimes in the beginning of the meditation, them specifying who this energy is. This is Jupiter. And then Rabbi Ben Koba and Echaim Weidman and all these other individuals, Sri Baba and him, and then they're off on an adventure of worship. You cannot have these individuals hack the energy for you. So we've explained what these symbols really mean. You should sit down within yourself and start asking yourself how to just understand the principle of getting your body charged up again. Not focusing on what someone else is saying, this is what's going to charge up your body. You understand the principles. The geometry has been introduced to you, two interlacing triangles, showing you that it's just two opposing forces. But don't think that when you get completely under the microscope of many molecules that represent energy, that you're just going to see these two triangles. You're going to actually see orbs. So to understand the curve that must be added to any type of meditation that has anything to do with straight lines is to get to the top of that and to the bottom of that. So people should understand many of these trainings and teachings. It's not, they're not pushing people in the right direction. Now, and then the person says, which brings me to ask about the angels or the angles and what Thoth warns about in the Emerald Tablets about traveling in angles and curves, and one should not travel in angles. Would that be that it's because it's artificial? You also warn about Thoth, and I have many doubts about him being on the good side or not. I'd love to hear some more about that. Okay, so let's get it clarified that you have in succession archons coming to the world as saviors and saying that they're either of God or designed by God and hear on God's message, etc. And now the person is to basically do obeisance to them, worship them, and somehow in doing that, you will get to God. This, of course, is the Jesus story also. It's any Messiah story. So I'm sourcing a picture here of an original picture of Hermes so you can understand the symbolism. And happen to be on the desktop. Hermes Thoth is actually in itself another clone. Like every time people are imagining that there's just one individual and he comes down and his name is Hermes, you're not understanding the symbolism that these people ride in. Okay, so here we go. I've just sourced a picture of Thoth Hermes. If you go all the way to the top, and you'll see he's carrying, of course, the caduceus rod, or actually, excuse me, a staff with a serpent coiling up. Everyone knows what that means. You see in one hand he has the Ankh, and that Ankh is, of course, a circle and a straight line. We know what that means. We see in behind his head he's now taken the solar principle. So now you can see where this is going to go. This is how they hack the symbolism, because Thoth is here on a man's body. So now behind him is this sun, so the sun now has become a man. Last lesson, we just learned about water. Water is not just a woman. The sun is not just a man. It's a dynamo. It has to contain a masculine and a feminine, or a positive and a negative. So then the lion shows up, who's of course on the face, who is Yaldabaoth, aka Yahweh, who is Yahweh, of course, is as Jordan Maxwell already uncovered, is originally meant the expression in an orgasm for the Hebrews, because there was a communion that took place between them and this God. Some say that it was inverted, if you can understand what that means. So, again, we have to save that for the adult show. So again, what you see here is you see the symbolism being hacked. Now what having this knowledge and information that we've been providing allows you to do is it allows you to actually see where much of the symbolism has been misinterpreted, that there has been a falsified war between male and female here in this world. That's what keeps us in conflict, even though we definitely need each other to survive. You'll see religions come forth that eliminate the feminine principle altogether. Like I said, when your kids ask you, well, mommy, if God is a dad and a father, where is mommy? It's a ghost. You see? Mommy's not even alive. God is alive, but mommy's a ghost because I guess they killed mommy. You see? Like, people don't understand the ramifications of the games that they're playing with your spiritual life. And then understand that we're talking about this and you're starting to understand why this couldn't be correct. But imagine the people that are not understanding that and have no clue what's going on. Then you start seeing that this is not a game at all, right? And that there are extraterrestrials here, that someone has embodied Yaldabaoth, the serpent-headed lion, snake, whatever, dragon, acting vicious with the people. Someone has bought that out of their portal and have become that and have enticed others to do the same thing. You notice all the rap and the rock enticing people to just go in the wrong direction. But everything that's being talked about, if a person found themselves in that situation, they would not want to be there. I'm on the streets, I'm gangbanging, I got drugs, I got guns, I got girls. Like, where are you going with that? Same thing in the rock song. I'm in the penthouse, I'm blown out of my mind, I'm about to jump off the ledge. Nobody that's listening to this stuff really wants to do this stuff. The horror, the Saul, chop off his arm, send him to a hotel, let him see how long he can survive in the forest. Nobody wants to go do that. So why is it that we're allowing these individuals to project this with something that they love, something that they love to do? Project this into our world and destroy our beauty here. Remember, this is the gift. I want to say wholeness and balance vibrations to everyone. Think about what has been said. Ask yourself, are there any clones in your world? Has someone set itself or something set itself up as God? Do you always feel like you have some check and balance system going on with something that you need to make contact with? You need to make contact with yourself. You need to understand this symbolism and what it really means, not taking it too far and taking it outside of yourself. Understand, you can go soft, which is the pleasantness of going into greater worlds, or you can be ripped completely from your body and you will return to this world because it's the only thing that you know. Meaning that if you leave this world and this world is the only one that you really know, like you're just material, you will return to this world because the spirit knows nowhere else to go. So that's key knowledge, wholeness and balance.